What is up, everybody, and welcome back to the channel. Today we are checking out tattoo transformations. Tattoos that started off really terrible and they've been covered up or reworked into something a lot more pleasing to the eye. Or maybe not. Either way, let's find out together on this week's episode of Tattoo Critiques. Once again, welcome back. If you could please hit that subscribe button and do all those other things that we ask you to do, because I know you usually forget by the time the video's over, so let's just get that out of the way. Now, all these tattoos were found on Reddit, which is always fun because you never quite know what you're gonna stumble across. Either way, let's check out this first one. All right, with this one, you can already see the drawing on top, but the original tattoo says the name Travis with, it looks to be like a semi-truck on bottom with some EKG lines on either side. It looks like this original tattoo was probably pretty meaningful, which I find hilarious that they're covering it up. Maybe they're doing something new elsewhere, or they're just not a fan of Travis anymore. Probably went through Travis's phone afterwards and found out a lot of shady shit. Travis is probably out there hanging out with them lot lizards, but it is what it is. Either way, this tattoo is done very poorly. It almost looks like one of those Pinterest ideas with the EKG lines. It's just not that well done. Obviously, it's no surprise that they would want to get that covered up, so let's see how they did. All right, well, this one definitely looks a lot better. I really like the snail, I love the colors that it has, and I like the addition of the mushrooms, but I can clearly see that semi-truck through the snail shell, so maybe not the most successful cover-up. As far as the transformation goes, I think they did a really great job because this is a lot more pleasing to look at. I just wish I didn't see as much of that semi-truck coming through the shell. Also, I'm not a huge fan of the white around this entire tattoo, as I know that's gonna fade away in the future, and it doesn't really do anything to help out the tattoo. If you're gonna put white in a tattoo like this, I probably would have put it around the entire snail just to push him forward a little bit more. Probably could have added some browns as well to the shell to help cover that semi-truck, and it would have set it off from those leaves a lot more. But right now the color of that shell and the leaves are really close, and it just looks rather flat. And having those browns in the shell would have added a lot more contrast overall. Personally, I would have shaped out those leaves a bit differently because it just reminds me of seaweed. But again, I don't want to take away from the transformation because that's what we are talking about here, and this is 100 times better than what it was before. So for that, I guess I gotta give you a thumbs up. All right, next up we've got one that says a Craig David cover-up. I'm pretty sure that's Drake, but what do I know? I mean, I guess it does look old enough to be a Craig David tattoo, but I'm still calling it Drake. Obviously, this original tattoo is pretty rough, didn't age very well in more ways than one. It looks like this thing got infected, a lot of color fell out. It's just a very poorly done tattoo. The circle isn't a circle, the red's falling out, the black's falling out, his ring finger is bulbous, so I can see why you'd want to cover this up. So let's see how the artist did. Not terrible, not great. As far as covering the existing tattoo, they did a great job with that, but I'm really not a fan of this tattoo in particular. This koi fish just looks very flat, there's not great composition, it just looks like this thing was slapped on there to cover that tattoo. And if that was the goal, then good job, but there was still a lot of room to make this thing look a lot better than what it currently does. And if this tattoo is fresh, then some of that red's already looking as patchy as the last one. The top of the tattoo definitely looks better than the bottom part of the tattoo. The bottom just looks really flat, and I'm not a fan of that little water wave that's running over the top of the tail. Personally, I would have done that little water wave with no outline and made it negative space completely just so it looks like something's coming over the tail. But since you can see the color through it, it's just not that pleasing. The little black squiggly line that's running to the right side of the koi, not sure what that's about. Could be some fish poop. That's what it looks like. It just would have looked a lot cleaner without that squiggly line there, and it's coming far too close to those finger waves, so it doesn't really make any sense. But if we're talking about the transformation, I would be a lot happier with that koi fish tattoo rather than a Drake tattoo. Or Craig David. Or Drake David. All right, this one's pretty funny. I actually kind of like this shitty Spider-Man tattoo. It brings a smile to my face. Obviously, it is very poorly done, not that great. The person probably already has regrets. So I'm curious to see what they covered it up with. All right, as far as technical ability goes, this tattoo is much cleaner than the Spider-Man tattoo, that's for sure. I do think this tattoo is overall very black, but the lines are clean, the color is well saturated in the flowers. I'd say this is a very successful cover-up. I just wish it wasn't that dark of a tattoo. You can throw some other colors in there, make this thing pop a little bit more, but as it sits, it's just pretty dark. Especially near the middle of this tattoo where there's no yellow, everything just falls really flat. And it's the dead center of this tattoo, so it's right where our eyes look. The flowers look great, don't get me wrong, but the snake's body could use some work. I don't think it was necessary to throw that much black in this tattoo because the original tattoo really didn't have that much black. The original tattoo probably could have benefited by going over it with a white pass or a skin tone pass first, maybe a time or two to really lighten that existing tattoo and then go over it with this snake. And I do suggest that often. I think it's a really overlooked technique that a lot of people could use in their cover-up tattoos. But I will say this is a pretty successful transformation technically over that Spider-Man tattoo. even though I do really love the Spider-Man tattoo. It's just fun and shitty, and I'm all about fun, shitty tattoos. Either way, good job on the artist. All right, real quick, before we get to the next one, I want to give a shout out to the sponsor of this channel, Mad Rabbit, because it is hot outside, and nothing damages your tattoos more than the sun. And did you know Mad Rabbit has a sunscreen specifically formulated for your tattoos? Well, now you do. So no excuses. So head on over to madrabbit.com and check out all they have to offer, and be sure to use code PONY20 to save 20% off your entire order. All right, let's get back to it. All right, this next group seems to come from the same artist, so I'm just gonna kind of go through these rather quickly. This first one seems to be a black outline of a lotus flower, and I don't know how this cover up or transformation is going to go, because that's a really big flower underneath that stencil. And it looks like they did a great job, because I really love that space part, and I think that was really wise to utilize the space in this tattoo for that cover up. The flowers look great. I don't exactly know how well they'll age over time, but for right now, this thing looks pretty awesome. This next one is a black cross, and this one's gonna be a tough one because that thing is black. It's got a little rose in the middle of the cross, which I don't really hate this tattoo. It feels really soft, aside from that black cross in the background. It's not that bad, but let's see how they did. All right, they kept with the cross, and they kept a lot of that black, and I think this is a really successful transformation. I love the color palette that this artist decided to use with those blues and purples and pinks. It's just very pretty. It also allowed the artist to use the existing color scheme that was there, but elevate it. It almost looks like this tattoo is iridescent. I think the artist did a phenomenal job on this one. The next one seems to be flying birds on the foot, which I've done dozens of times. Maybe this is my tattoo. But it looks like they're covering up with a whale of some sort, so let's see how they did. All right, again with the space theme. And again, I think that's a really wise move to use for cover-ups because it makes it really easy to cover up almost anything with space. And I like the idea of a space whale. Kind of reminds me of Star Wars. I'm pretty sure I've seen that somewhere. I know I'm repeating myself, I'm just not sure how those lighter tones are going to heal up over time, but as it sits, this thing is beautiful. Really good job on the artist. All right, this next one says Wonderlust, and this one looks like a nightmare to cover. I don't know how they're gonna do it. They might utilize space again because there is a lot of black in this tattoo. But let's check out what they did. Hey, no space for once. It's a nice change of pace. They actually used a lot of the existing tattoo. This is more of a rework, I would say. I'm not sure if I'm a fan of how the tattoo comes through the butterfly's wing on the top. It just makes it look like the butterfly is see-through. Maybe it is. It's watercolor butterfly, I guess it could be see-through. Personally, I probably would have moved that butterfly up just a hair to help cover up that mountain. I think it would have been really easy, but as far as the color palette goes, I'm not as much of a fan of this one as I am the blues and purples and teals. It looks all right. I think having some blue in the water down at the bottom would have been a really nice choice. It would have given this thing a lot more contrast, and it would have made sense if that water were blue rather than yellows and oranges and purples. Save that for the horizon and the butterflies. Still, as far as the transformation goes, leaps and bounds better than it was before. Just my least favorite tattoo from this artist so far. All right, obviously we've got some space tattoo coming up. This appeared to be a big black sun with a couple black planets behind it. Not really sure what this original tattoo was trying to showcase here. Maybe they were playing marbles, I don't know. But let's see what they did as far as the transformation goes. This one looks a lot better, and I think they did an exceptional job covering up that big black blob. I really like this tattoo. I think this is very gorgeous. Nice amount of blacks. The planet looks amazing. And there's not really too many light tones used here, which I would worry about fading over time. There's a lot of dark blues, a lot of dark purples, dark pinks. I think this thing should settle in pretty well. I'm sure the wearer of this tattoo is absolutely thrilled at what they've got on their arm now compared to what it was. And I really like how you can see the artist plan through the stencil. You know, they outlined every star twice to give it that glow. This is why I think it's really important to have everything planned out before approaching any tattoo, especially a cover-up. So I'm gonna go ahead and leave that artist name right here, or here. It'll be somewhere. But if you're in the market for a cover-up or transformation, definitely reach out to this artist because they clearly know what they're doing. All right, up next we've got some sort of little Dalmatian peanut. Not really sure what it is, but either way, on your hand, probably not a wise choice. Curious to see what they did with this one. All right, I'm not sure this one's any better. I don't know if that's a turd with a cowboy hat or a potato. I see some kind of face. I almost see a dog in this one. I don't know if this is any better than the original, to be honest. This one's kind of out there. All right, I lied. I did notice they sent in another photo, so let's see what that one's about. Hopefully this is somewhat better. All right, this one's, I'll call it better than the potato turd, but still not a fan of this tattoo overall. And if this person got this tattoo just to cover up that little tattoo on the hand, I mean, that's a big ass tattoo. I don't know if the red moon behind it was necessary, if that had to cover up part of it, but I don't think so. Yeah, I don't know. I think it successfully covered the potato, but I just see a lot of things wrong with this tattoo. I do think it's better, I'll give it that. But the colors in this snake are just really drab. The purple in the mouth, the tongue that's this weird maroon color, it just doesn't pop. The greens don't look well saturated. The blues look very flat. I think this snake could have been a lot better. It makes me wonder if you're going back to the same artist every time, because honestly, I liked the outlines in the original tattoo a lot better than I do the snake. Again, transformation, sure, it definitely transformed into something. I don't know, the mouth really confuses me on this snake. The way the purple goes in the background and then it goes into the mouth, not really sure. The little pink part of the snake's mouth where it's supposed to connect to the bottom jaw is just really patchy. I think this tattoo could be saved for sure. I think if you just add a lot more color into it, some nicer saturation, I think this thing could look a lot better. But again, I'm not really sure what's up with that red moon in the background. I don't know why that was necessary, because I don't think that was covering up any part of the potato. I also wonder where this snake goes, if it wraps around and goes up the entire arm, or if it just ends weirdly on the side. I think this thing could definitely afford a second pass. I mean, like I said, the saturation is just not there. If this user were to find a good artist and go there, I think this thing could definitely be salvageable. But again, as far as the cover-up goes, it definitely covered it up. The transformation, I mean, it's definitely a weird transformation going from a potato dog to a snake, but whatever hums your bum. To be honest, it just looks like all three of these tattoos are meant for different people. The original outline is something small and weirdly cute, I guess. The potato dog turd tattoo is something that probably belongs on your leg. I mean, I see the humor there, it's wearing a cowboy hat, and cowboy hats are funny. But in the end, we've got this snake on the hand, which I think could be really cool. It just falls short for me. Either way, I'd be curious to see what you end up doing with a snake, if you have another session, or if this is it. Just not thrilled by it. Well, that was heaps of fun. We got to see a lot of really cool transformations and a couple not so great ones. That being said, if you are going to have one of your current tattoos covered up or transformed, that you have a plan in place and you go to an artist that's capable of doing a great cover up or transformation, because these things can go south very quick. It's very easy for a bad tattoo to turn into an awful tattoo. This isn't even something that I would suggest any tattooer try to tackle within their first couple years of tattooing. This is something that takes a lot of experience and a lot of tricks to pull off well. Don't feel bad to pass on jobs that are out of your expertise or wheelhouse, because at the end of the day, this is still your name on these tattoos, and word of mouth travels faster than anything. You gotta have a bag of tricks, otherwise you're gonna end up with a bag of shit, as we've seen today. But either way, thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe while you're here, and as always, I will see you guys next week.